Hi guys, this is Godwin Selassie Lakbo. You're welcome to Make It Legal. Today I'm going to discuss an interesting topic with you.
Make it legal.
The topic is what you need to know about the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. It's part one, and it's a series of videos that is going to come up. This is the part one about the Constitution, what you need to know about it. It's a follow-up to our first video, which was on the laws of Ghana. You remember we said that the Constitution is one of the laws of Ghana. Is the supreme law, is the first law, is the law that all other laws come from. So today we are focusing on it. We want to know a little more about it. But how did the Constitution come about? In fact, the Constitution came into force at the time when the Provisional National Defense Council was in power, as in they were the ruling government, the PNDC. I hope you've heard of PNDC. Yeah, you should know about PNDC. So that government, has to promulgate the constitution by a law. So they passed a law called the Constitution for the Fourth Republic of Ghana Promulgation Law, 1992, which is PNDC Law 282. So that was the law, was used to promulgate the constitution. Now, the PNDC government, by that law, which is called the Consultative Assembly Law of 1982, called PNDC Law 253. PNDC Law 253. That was the law that the PNDC law used to establish or form a body called Consultative Assembly. Now, this assembly was made up of about 258 people from various sectors of life and locations of Ghana, from traditional rulers to professionals to artisans. So they comprised this particular Consultative Assembly. Their job was simply to come together, discuss, do research, put ideas together and prepare a draft constitution for the Fourth Republic of Ghana. Now, they did their deliberations, their discussions, met with all kinds of groups among themselves, brought ideas together, and came up with a draft constitution. This constitution was presented to the PNDC government in 1992, precisely on the 31st of March 1992. That was when it was presented to the PNDC government. So the PNDC government, upon receiving the draft constitution, was okay with everything, and being okay with it, they submitted it to the people of Ghana. So the people accepted the constitution. They accepted it by a referendum. Referendum is more like you put a question to vote, and people vote yes or no. So when they put a constitution to vote between yes and no, a lot of people said yes to having the constitution as the sole document that governed the nation. And about 92% of people actually said yes. You can imagine how people really supported it. So that is just a brief history. So on the 28th of April 1992, that's where we had the referendum, I should say, and that the constitution was accepted by the people of Ghana. And it was to come into force on the 7th of January 1993. Although it's called 1992 Constitution, it actually came on 7th January 1993. Now, I want to share with you the content and structure of the Constitution now. The Constitution has interesting divisions. It's divided into chapters, and then to articles, and then to clauses, subclauses, paragraphs, and subparagraphs. So that's the division of the Constitution. So you'll see chapter 1 to 26. Okay, there are 26 chapters in the Constitution. Chapter 1 talks about the Constitution. Chapter 2 talks about territories of Ghana. Chapter 3 talks about citizenship. Chapter 4 talks about the laws of Ghana, and so on. That is it about the division. We have chapters, articles, then we have clauses, subclauses, paragraphs, and subparagraphs. Okay. One of the things you will know is that there are 26 chapters, as I stated earlier. There are also 299 articles and several clauses, several paragraphs that I can just mention that some. Okay, so now that you know how the Constitution came about, you also appreciate the structure of the Constitution. I need to also understand some core fundamental principles of the Constitution as we have it. Number one is the supremacy of the Constitution. What does that mean even? It means the Constitution is supreme. It is above all other laws, all other persons, all other institutions, all other systems, whatever their name be. The Constitution is supreme. It's above all. So that is one of the fundamental principles of law that underscore the 1992 Constitution. Another one you will get to understand is that it's the Constitution that defined or gave what we call fundamental human rights and freedom. that we enjoy in the country. So all the rights you enjoy as a citizen are also part of the fundamental human rights. They are right that every human has, whether or not they are citizens of Ghana. So that is one of the key things brought about by the 1992 Constitution. Another thing you need to know also, which is the third fundamental principle of the Constitution, is that it's provided for what we call directive principles of state policy. So it is giving direction of the principles that should govern this nation's policies. Okay, it gives a sense of direction, more like an aspiration of the people of Ghana, the goal of the people of Ghana, what they desire to achieve. So that is what we call directive principles of state policy. All of that is formulated in the Constitution. It's quite unique to our Constitution. Another thing you would also know is that it provided for what we call separation of powers. Have the three organs of government having separate powers. The legislature has its own power, the executive has its own power, and then the judiciary also has its own power. But also it provided for what we call checks and balance. Okay, that in itself sort of restrain the excess or the abuse of the doctrine of separation of powers. The fact that you are all having separate powers does not mean you abuse it. So checks and balance comes as a doctrine to help check your excesses as a government or as a legislative body or judicial body. So that is it. The next thing you should note is about creation of independent constitutional bodies. So a lot of independent constitutional bodies were created to detach them from the influence of the government or the legislature or the judiciary. So you hear of the Electoral Commission, you hear of the National Commission for Civic Education, you hear of SHRAJ, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. These are all independent constitutional bodies created by the 19th Constitution. Another thing you also get to know is, as one of the fundamental principles of the Constitution, is the creation of what we call the rule of law, that we want as a nation to cherish the rulership of a rule of a law rather than of a man. We don't want to have a dictator as a president, one person who is for life the president. You know, in the 1960 Constitution, when Nkrumah was the president, the Constitution actually has his name in the Constitution. So the first president of Ghana shall be Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Quite interesting, right? So it's like a rule of man, so to say. He's a life president. But the new Constitution, 1992 Constitution, clearly provided that we should have the rule of law underpin our democratic endeavors as a nation. And that is very unique for us. Then another thing you also know is what we call the multi-party democracy. The Constitution also laid a foundation for multi-party democracy. What does that even mean? Multi-party democracy talks about several political parties participating in democratic governance, unlike the era of the dictatorship where there is only one party for the whole nation, everybody follows that party, or there is only one person who is the leader and everybody follows that person. But we have a multi-party system that allows varied political parties to contest for power, and if the people decide that they should be their leader, they become the leader. So maybe you have your own views about it, but that's what the Constitution says. In fact, specifically in the Constitution, it stated that Parliament shall have no power to establish a one-party state. It means it don't have power to make Ghana a one-party state. An interesting principle there. So what else must you know as a core principle of the Constitution is the sovereignty of Ghana. The sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana. So as Ghanaians, we are the sovereignty of Ghana. Sovereignty talks about the highest regard to a person, the highest honor who is due, the highest benefit who is due, the persons for whose reason we are doing something is the people of Ghana. So we say the sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana. And it's for them alone the government is supposed to act. The legislature, the executive, the judiciary is supposed to protect the interest of the people of Ghana. So these are the key things I thought you should know about the Constitution. We'll get to do part 2 of this video, what you need to know about the 19th Constitution part 2. We're going to focus on duties of citizen. All right, this is what we draw a curtain for today. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. I'm Godwin Selassie Dapo. Make it legal. Make it legal.